Andrea Ayew. We'll be hearing more from him about how he managed to get the deal to Fenerbahce. As you know, he's on loan from Swansea. Welcome to the Joy Sports Track. I'm Gary Al Smith. And apart from that, we'll be looking at other issues that are trending worldwide. Some boxing also will be said. But first of all, following from our discussion last week with Dan Kweku-Yeboah, who is the spokesperson of the liaison team that has been put together by FIFA and the government to steer the affairs of Ghana football in the wake of the airing of Anas Arimia or Anas's expose, we think here that Ghana football is in a bit of a lurch. We are not moving forward at the pace at which we should. And so the Joy Sports team is trying to interrogate the issues about why. Key among them are the clubs. They are the be-all and the end-all. And if the clubs don't help, nothing will move. So we'll be speaking to Aminu Shado, who is the secretary of the GACA chamber that was set up to put their ideas together to help the liaison team do their job about why things are going the way they are. And that will be the crux of the matter. Aminu Shado, thank you very much for joining us. Hello, Aminu. Hello, Aminu. Can you hear me? You can hear me? Hello, Aminu. Okay, we'll try and get him as well. So as you know, the liaison team was set up by FIFA and also the government of Ghana to be able to steer the affairs of Ghana football into calmer waters. What we expected, that is, some of us stakeholders in the media and fans expected, was a speedy resolution for all problems. But what we have in practice is that the liaison team, whose terms of reference I might add, is only to do with national teams. So Dr. Kofi Amoah and Coach Kofi Akintin, who are the two people on the liaison team, were expressly asked to look after the national teams that will be playing in international competitions to be able to get the funding they want and the funding they need, also get the air tickets and all the preparatory material to be able to do that. Their terms of reference did not include, and this is key, it did not include anything that has to do with club football. So their remit did not include working with GACA. It did not include working with GACA on any affairs at all. And that is a key problem because the Ghana League Clubs Association were asked to give ideas as to how Ghana football can move forward from their point of view. And many of the clubs have been reneging. They have simply refused to do so. We understand that only about 10 or 11 or 12 clubs have written to give the liaison team their ideas as to how they feel club football should move forward, and that is where the discussion will be taking place. In studio with me is Hans Mensah-Andor. Hello, Hans. Thank you very much for joining us on the Joy Sports Track as well.
Pleasure, Gary.
While we wait for Aminu, what is your take on last week? We had an extensive discussion with Dan Kweku-Yeboah, who gave us the terms of reference and how the liaison team are working to do their job. We think that, after almost 60 days of Anas airing his video, nothing really has moved.
Well, it has taken people by surprise a bit. I think that people thought that with government intervention that it was going to be a case of government comes in, FA is dissolved. Okay, we are reconstituting a new entity to man the affairs of Ghana football. People did not realize that having to go through a legal process was going to mean that things were going to move slow a bit. That people were probably going to contend government decision to dissolve the FA, and that would mean that we had to go through a whole process for government, to tell the courts why the FA had to be dissolved and, whether the court was going to agree or not. Yep. And so that has taken people by surprise a bit. The fact that things are not moving as quickly as people thought it would have has taken people by surprise a bit. Secondly, for me personally, to the extent that the national teams have not been affected, to the extent that the club representing Ghana in the CAF inter-club competition has not been affected, that is good enough. The worry now has to do with what appears to be the liaison team overstepping its boundaries in terms of or in respect of what its terms of reference is supposed to be. I think we haven't got into the stage where we need to be talking about reforms. Yes, we can be thinking about it in our minds. But for the liaison team to write to clubs and ask them, to make inputs with respect to reforms, I think it's a bit too early. We all know what the processes are going to be. We expect a normalization committee to be formed to spearhead that process. And so...
let's take a step back. Okay. Maybe we are moving too fast for some of our listeners. So what Hans is saying is that, essentially, the two-man liaison team, like I said in my introduction, were given a specific job that, FIFA, we have so many national teams going for international assignments, and so your job is to make sure that they go into these international competitions. There's no ban that's going to affect them. They have their monies and so on and so forth. But your job is not to speak to clubs, because that is going to be a contentious issue. However, what we have seen is a liaison team led by Dr. Kofi Amoah and Coach Otia Kinting going into those waters, and this is why we have somebody like Aminu Shadu on the line to give us an idea, because he's the secretary to the GALCA team that were formed to help bring their ideas on board as well. So Aminu, you have joining us now. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, but I'm not aware of the appointment of the secretary of anybody, though.
Oh, you're part of the committee. You're part of the committee, aren't you?
Well, that committee, we had a mandate and we've completed with our work, so I don't know.
So it's out of, so you are not working now. That's what you are saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yes. So just to bring our listeners up to speed, I mean, even we didn't know that, what did you do on that committee as well, and where did you reach with that? You said you have completed that job.
You recall that GALCA instituted a committee to put together a petition to FIFA. When the process of signing the petition, when the liaison team was announced.
So you did not send a petition?
No, we didn't forward the petition, because at that point in time, the liaison team had extended invitation to clubs for a meeting, and we thought it was prudent to listen to their side before taking any further action.
That is great, Aminu.
No action has been taken.
That's great. I'm actually happy that we have cleared the air on this, because you see, I want to know what exactly, Aminu, does GALCA want? Remind us of what was in that petition that you were going to send to FIFA that you didn't, because the liaison team came into being.
Well, basically, we all know that for any reform to take place, you need to revert to the football people, to the club owners, the people the industry players, if I must put it that way. And for that to happen, it means there shouldn't be any injunction, the secretariat should be functioning for normal football activities, be able to go to Congress to effect the changes that we desire. That was basically what we were putting together in our petition, to allow for government to, as it were, withdraw the case of dissolving the Football Association, take the tag of the FA being a crime scene off for normal activities to resume as we continue to engage in putting together the reform. So basically, that was the petition that we were putting together to get FIFA to convince government to as it were, back off a bit and allow us to conduct the reforms that we so much desire.
Now that the petition that you were putting together did not see the light of day, would you agree with me if I say that the position of GALCA vis-a-vis the liaison team has been adverse? Your position has been has not been kind to them. You are not being receptive of the things they have to say.
Not at all. If you recall, the backup release that mandated the liaison team had a clear remit in mind. FIFA could have gone ahead to say, okay, you take over all football activities, but FIFA were very careful, because they knew definitely to infringe on portions of their own regulations, their own statutes, and so on. So they were very, very careful in ensuring that the mandate that they give to the liaison committee doesn't infringe on their own regulations. That's why, in their wisdom, the mandate to the liaison team was only to cater for clubs in international competition like Indiana, and then the various national teams which are starting to do our local football. So I was quite astonished that at a point in time it appeared that the liaison team were looking to arrogate to themselves powers that have not been given to them by the appointing authority.
I mean, for the ordinary football fan, what does this mean? Because the ordinary football fan thought that maybe, as Hans articulated when he was talking, that after the airing of the video, things will move speedily, and by this time, I mean, we're almost 60 days. That's 3 months, or 2 months.
It's basically a standstill situation, because let's not forget that there's still the injunction on football, official football activity is still in place. Government is still in court seeking to dissolve the very association that we are seeking to reform. So it's a standstill situation now, until such a time that probably FIFA will come out with the normalization committee. All of us are expecting to take over the full administration of football until such a time that government probably eases its stance on dissolving the association, until such a time when the injunction will be lifted over official football activities. Then we can look at making progress. Because as it stands now, we don't have a secretariat, we don't have a functioning secretariat, we don't have the mandate to go ahead to even convene Congress if we want to, because there's an injunction in force.
Last week, Dan Kwekueboah was here and he was saying that the liaison team is dealing with GACA and not the GFA because legally they are two separate entities, right?
Very, very true. Two separate entities, but very, very intertwined. You cannot go ahead and organize competitions in the name of Ghana football in consonance with FIFA regulations without recourse to the Football Association. So there's a direct link between GACA and the Football Association. The same membership of the Football Association and the same members of GACA. And here's a case where the body that's mandated per regulations, per law to administer football in Ghana is not GACA, but it is the Ghana Football Association. And this is the case where the Ghana Football Association are not able to work. So it therefore means that we, the GACA members, who are also members of the Football Association, are still in a standstill situation. So I'm sure people are just trying to use semantics to see how they can weave their way to. Yes, it's all well and good to do with GACA. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, GACA is a recognized body of football clubs. So is the Ghana Football Association. But let's not deceive ourselves thinking that we can deal with GACA without recourse to the Ghana Football Association. That would be a fallacy.
Right. So, based on what you have said, have GACA written officially to the liaison team, Dr. Kofi Amoah and Coach Otia Kinting, that you cannot deal with us?
No, I don't think that has been done. I would say I don't think because I don't know the situation as of now. I'm not an executive member of GACA. So I wouldn't know whether such correspondence has taken place. But what I know for sure is that the GACA executive need to make a decision. The responses that we've gotten from clubs are not are encouraging, are not representative of the entire membership of GACA. So how do you proceed? Do you still proceed with what you have, or do you abandon the process? And I've advised GACA strongly that I think based on the responses and also based on the letter mandating the liaison team, it will be best if we let them know that these are your remits. This is the mandate given to you. Let us not go beyond the mandate given, because the letter mandating the liaison team was crystal clear, was very clear. There's no ambiguity. Their job was to oversee national football activities and clubs who are involved in international competitions like Ghana, and that was it. It doesn't go beyond that. So let us not try and weave our way through and, as it were, impose more powers where there's none. If they feel that they probably need more powers to do with local football, I would advise that they go back to the operating authority, make their case. If there's a situation where CAF and FIFA gives them the mandate to oversee local football, I'm sure the responses that they will get will be different from what they are getting now.
Finally, you hinted at if you had to advise, and you have advised and so on. Your personal professional view about where Ghana football is right now, because you are an administrator of a Premier League club as well, so you're affected in a way. I mean, if you look at the liaison team, the way they are even trying to deal with clubs and the way they've gone about their work so far, what would it be?
Well, the expose we thought would give us an opportunity to reform our association, to make it better, to make football better. Unfortunately, it has also exposed the lack of quality personnel, quality people to also oversee things in disastrous mode. We have not been able to manage ourselves quite well. But it doesn't also take away the fact that if any reforms is to take place, it's the same football people who will be entrusted, who will the power to carry out the various reforms that we so much desire. I think it's a high time that calm is restored. Let us have a sober reflection. Government, I'm sure, they probably were misinformed as to the steps that we've taken so far, because you can't stick to has to reform an association that you are seeking to dissolve in the first place. It's as if you have somebody pointing a gun at you and you're looking for a painkiller to cure headache. I mean, you have to deal with the gun pointed at you first. I think the issue of dissolution, if people hear me very well, I think we should shelve that idea of dissolve the association. Let us give the people, the football people, the opportunity to reform the association. I mean, we have the men.
You see, Aminu, immediately, the first, I've talked about this issue, this specific thing you are saying at many places in many forms. And the number one feedback I keep getting from the ordinary people on the street, Aminu, is that these same football people who brought our football to where it is, you are now telling us that they have the men. If they have the men, where were these men all this while when powers were being arrogated to somebody they voted for? They arrogated the powers to these same people to make the system what it is. What is your answer to that?
I mean, they have a legitimate point. They are major stakeholders of our game if they feel this way about the people. I mean, but what other option do we have? We don't have any other alternative of getting other people to come and do our own criminal exercise for us. We don't have any other alternative. The regulations, the status, we don't have any other alternative. We just have to entrust them, and also with the kind of awareness that has come because of this expose, I'm sure probably given this opportunity, they'll do a much better job than they did in the past. I don't want us to... So
the general public should trust football people now?
I strongly believe that the number 12 exposure is giving us an opportunity. It has given voices to the voiceless. All of a sudden, people with try and find ideas are feeling very, very confident. They're coming out with ways to take the industry forward. Let's give people the opportunity. I'm sure with this kind of awareness, there's no room for us messing up anymore. I mean, let people trust the system, trust us, give us the opportunity. If we don't reform, you see, football, we as administrators are the first beneficiary of whatever good things that will come out of football. So I'm sure we'll carry out reforms that will inure to our benefit, which will trickle down to the other stakeholders, including the ordinary fan on the street. So I will urge them to restore confidence in the people, restore confidence in our leaders. I'm sure, given the recent history that we've had in Ghana football, and the opportunity given, it will be a better job.
Thank you, Aminu. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Right, Aminu Shado speaking there. He's an administrator for Dreams FC, and he was speaking in that capacity as well. Very good stuff. Hans Mensando is in the studio with us. It's 31 minutes, just past the hour of 1 on Joy 99.7 FM. Is the Joy Sports Track. Hans, your thoughts on what he said?
Well, I mean, interesting. I only want to touch on the concluding part of his submission. And, it's easy to say that people should trust what remains of the football people, but it's a different ball game altogether. Look, I remember carrying out a poll on Facebook asking people that I think there was a point where it became clear that maybe if government decided to use internal mechanisms within the FA to solve the current situation that they had, it was resounding. I think about over 80% of people, actually voted that government should go ahead and dissolve the FA. Now,
but when it dissolves the FA and reconstitute a new FA, it's the same
for people. Yeah, in as much as we think that people are riding on the emotions,
and that's what Aminu is saying.
Yes,
you can't go anywhere.
In as much as people are thinking that they may be riding on emotions, people also feel that it will hit the football people, a bit more and let them think a bit more. You see, for a long time, the perception had been that the FA is untouchable.
Yeah.
So people want to see the FA touched so that it sends a message to the football people that, look,
next time,
if we dissolve it and reconstitute it and you mess up again, we won't dissolve it again.
Yeah, sure.
That sort of, message is what they want to send across. So people want to see the FA dissolve, and whatever body is reconstituted, they wouldn't really care who are part of the new body. It's difficult to tell people to trust what remains of the FA because, like you asked, if these people were so good, how come they sat aloof and watched all the things that went on, all the rot that went on, allegedly at the FA, to go on? So it's really difficult to ask people to trust what remains of the FA. Back to the liaison team. I think that I'm glad that we've raised this particular issue. The terms of reference is very clear. Your only dealings with the club is in relation to national team assignments. Nothing more, nothing less. I think that it raises a lot of questions over the credibility of the people and the team itself if they are going beyond what is stipulated as far as their mandate is concerned, we need to keep them in check. They need to realize that people are watching. I think maybe they are riding on the goodwill that they have, the support they have from Ghanaians to think that they can get into areas that they are really not mandated to get into. But somebody needs to send a message across to them that, look, we are watching. Yeah.
So, watching indeed. And on Joy 99.7 FM, we'll keep interrogating the issues. And it's quite frustrating. Many of you keep saying, so where are we now? You know, I was somewhere this weekend and people were actually talking about the initial 5-member committee that was formed, and they actually thought they are the ones still working. I said, no, we've gone past that. Something has been formed. It did not work, and then we have now come to this 2-man committee as well. So, do you get a sense, like I do, that you know what? Even a lot of us in the media, Charlie, people have lost interest. You know, so the media are not even taking up their discussion because it's like, what are we going to talk about?
Okay, now, here is what I see from where I sit as far as the media is concerned. I'm going to be as blunt as possible.
Well, that's why we're here.
I think even the media is divided.
Yeah.
I think that what is happening is that those within the media, the shout for the FA people to be dealt with is higher than those who are supporting, you know, the Ghana football. There are people,
or those who are saying that the same football people should come back. Like
you understand me? That is why maybe you are not really hearing the voices, but there are people within the key people within the media who would rather have the FA standing for football to continue for various reasons. For me, whether we are going to expedite action on the dissolution of the FA or we are going to take our time and go through the processes, at the end of the day, we want to see, you know, a system that has been sanitized, a system that works to run the affairs of Ghana football.
Fantastic. And speaking of the liaison team, as you know, and I have established again, we were looking at one of the key things that they'll be working on being the national teams. The various national teams are up for different kinds of assignments around the world, and one is the under-20 female side, the Princesses, who are going to be partaking in the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup, and they'll be leaving Ghana for France today. The initial plan of a training tour of Spain was cancelled. Therefore, they continued preps at the Ghanaman Soccer Center of Excellence in Pram Pram. Coach Yusuf Basigi and his girls had the opportunity to play some friendlies to fine-tune before going into the tournament, and the coach is on the line with us. Thank you for your time, Coach.
Thank you.
Yes, so, you know, the show started by talking about the liaison team and how their remits and their terms of reference included your team as well to make sure that you have everything you need. So let me start from there. Do you have everything you need before leaving out of Ghana?
Yeah, everything is set.
You know, so when you say everything, we are talking about specifics. I mean, we knew there was a time that we heard that training kits was a problem. So just for the purposes of our listeners and for the benefit of the doubt, do you have your kits, everything is sorted?
Training kits, I don't think we had problem with the training kits because since we started camping, everything, we had all the necessary equipment to train with. So we had no problem with the equipment.
Okay. We saw some trending videos last week involving the members of the liaison team in the Ghanaman soccer camp. The monies were being shared and so on and so forth. It gave us the impression, or to the ordinary person watching, that why would they be sharing money if bonuses will be paid on time? So if you say everything has been sorted out, you are showing us and the nation right now listening that money issues will not be a problem from the time you go until the time you come back.
Well, you know, normally before we set off, or we met the liaison team, and then we were made to understand that we will make sure all the necessary things that we will need when we get there will be put in place. So, you know, we cannot ask them, how much is going to be our bonuses and all that because of the time frame. You know, we don't want to go that line. But all that we want to make sure is that normally we talk about per diem, which of course will be going with the purse holder, and then also our kits for the matches and training are also waiting for us on arrival. So I think that these were the things that we were told before they left Pram.
Okay. Now, we know that your initial plan of going to Spain first may not happen. How will this affect your plans, considering that they were a key component of your preparations for this tournament? You think that it will be a reason why you may not do well or something like that?
Yeah. Irrespective of that, for us, you see, every technical man or every coach would like to play friendly international to get the needed exposure before the main competition. So, in fact, the preparation has been very short, and then looking at the time for the training tour, we need to be there at least 10 days. And since we're not getting there by 10 days, we'll not be able to acclimatize very well. And then also, with the few knocks that we had here and there, we thought that, well, since the time is very short, why not just move straight to France instead of going, and then we'll not get the needed preparation, because initially there were a lot of program outline for us over there to play against Brazil, Atletico Madrid, Spain, but because of the lost time, we could not come off. It was left with only Spain. And looking at our time of arriving at Spain, and then maybe playing the match before and planning to France, the fatigue would set in more. So we'll just prepare here and then take off straight.
Sure. Can you please update us on the fitness of Sandra Osu-Ansah? We understand she got a small injury.
Yeah. The physio, we talked this morning. She started jogging this morning. We trained this morning. And all those who had knocks, apart from Sandra, they all trained. And only Sandra who did some light jogging and stretching. And they have assured me that before the kickoff on Sunday, she'll be fit. And even after the training, I asked her, and she said, she's getting on well, just that some little pain. So we didn't want to stress her so much. But with resting from now till Sunday with a little jogging and all that, she'll be okay.
And you guided the Black Queens to gold at the last edition of the All Africa Games, Coach Basigi. I mean, the Black Princesses, as we know, they have a poor record of not making the group stage of a World Cup competition. How big is this challenge, considering these stats that are against you as you go to France for the World Cup?
Yeah, actually, this has been my first priority, or my biggest challenge, because crossing the group stage has become a problem for the princesses. So, in fact, it is actually my target. And then the mindset of all the players, I've prepared their minds, I've made them also, set that target that this time round we must cross the group stage, or we have to cross the group stage, then we re-strategize for the subsequent matches.
Excellent. Many, many thanks for your time, Coach Yusuf Basigi. We appreciate it. And all the best as you are playing to France.
Thank you very much, sir.
Right. Coach Yusuf Basigi is the coach of the Black Princesses. They are heading for the Under-20 Women's World Cup. Their first game is against France as well. And France are their host nation. So that will not be easy. It's from one national team to the other. But this time about the Black Stars, whose deputy captain has been in the news in the last couple of days. We are talking, of course, about Andre Ayew, who has moved from Swansea.
Something like that. So it goes back to, in combination with the Eurowings accident, things like that, reviewing the profiles of the flight crew and the passengers and the cabin crew.
That was a suicide, of course.
Yes, indeed. And if you're saying this is human intervention, which is...
Yeah, sorry about that. We mixed up the voices. Andrea, you were speaking about Fenerbahce and moving to that club as well. Let's hear him now.
To be honest, as soon as I heard of the interest from Fenerbahce, it was something who pleased me straight away. It's true that we had other contacts, whether in England or outside, but Fenerbahce is a very, very big club, a club who has a new project, new sporting director, new chairman. So the club wants to get to the other level, and this project was something which touched me and I believe in. So when we started discussing and we started moving, I felt that the project was very serious and that the future of Fenerbahce is very bright. So I wanted to be part of this big project which is starting. So I know that there's a lot of expectations in the club from the fans, and that's why I'm here to make sure that inshallah everything goes well. Well, yes, it's true. I played here. Unbelievable stadium with the fans and everyone around. So it was a nice game. We drew 2-2. Me and Valbuena played here, and it went well for me and him on that day. Honestly, I'm happy to be back with him because he's a very, very important player, big player. He has proven it everywhere he's gone to, in the national team, clubs, and we have played together for about 6-7 years.
For loading of offside at Tawaso, it's a ritual which has been going on for a very long time. Most of the contractors.
The interest from Fenerbahce, it was something who pleased me straight away. It's true that we had other contacts, whether in England or outside, but Fenerbahce is a very, very big club, a club who has a new project, new sporting director, new chairman. So
Andrea, you speaking there. Now, one player who has been giving a bit of advice to Andre is Stephen Appiah. He played there for 3 years. 64 appearances, 11 goals. He knows all about Turkey, and he has a bit of advice for the deputy captain of the Black Stars.
4 days ago, when Andre called me, Andre, friend, Fifi Taki, told me that Andre wanted to talk to me. So Andre called me and he asked me a few things about Fenerbahce. And I gave him the answer that
I see. Tell me about the fans and the way they treat you guys. I mean, I've heard all sorts of interesting stories. You've told me some of them. Rigobert Song, former captain of Cameroon, told me some of them as well. But share with us some of these stories about how the fans treat you, the players of Fenerbahce.
Well, not when you mention Turkey doesn't sound like Spain, it doesn't sound like Italy, it doesn't sound like England, it doesn't sound like Germany in terms of football. But when you get there, it's a different thing. I mean, I was able to play 3 seasons with Fenerbahce from 2005 to 2008. And it was amazing. Football there is something else. They don't see, especially Fenerbahce, they don't see football as football. The fans, they see it as a religion. And the time that I spent there, it was awesome. I love the place, the people especially. Istanbul is a great city. And playing there, I was able to play with players like Anelka, Kezman, Ales, and all these players. And people think that Turkish league is not that competitive, but trust me, when you get there, you see that it's a different thing. And I'm really happy that Andre Ayew signed for Fenerbahce, because a team like Fenerbahce, they need players like Andre Ayew with his personality, with his character. And I know that they're going to worship him there. I mean, knowing how Andre plays, that's what the Turkish league, that's the kind of players they are looking in their league.
What would you want to say to Andre Ayew now that he's landed this role? What would you want to say to him? He's got a season. I mean, by the initial agreement, he has a season there.
Well, he called me this morning on video call where he was with some of the players, and I can see that he's already in the mood. I mean, at times it doesn't matter where you find yourself. It's all about what you have to take your work seriously. And I mean, we have spoken a lot, and I know that he's going to deliver, because, as I said, he's a hard-working guy who always wanted to win. So we have spoken a lot, and I think that he has taken that this little advice that I've given him.
All right, Capitano, thank you so much.
Nathaniel Atto speaking then in that interview he had with Stephen Appiah on the Joy Sports Link. Yeah, here on the Joy Sports Track on a Monday, 2 days after the Sports Link, and we'll be shifting to boxing now.
Joy 99.7 FM. Joy 99.7 FM.
We have some 11 minutes to call it a show here on the Joy Sports Track. We've done a bit of Ghana football, a bit of national team football in relation to Andre Ayew. Now we do some boxing. As you might have heard this weekend, Robert Easter Jr., the guy who beat Richard Comey about a year ago, was in action this weekend. He was beaten by Mickey Garcia. Mickey Garcia is a beast, to put it mildly. I mean, and he unified that division as well. What does it mean for our own Richard Comey, who has been looking for an opportunity to be able to have one over Robert Easter Jr. Again, on the line is Jacob Zuenes. He is the manager for Richard Comey, and he joins us from the United States. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Jacob Zuenes. Mr. Zuenes. We lost him. Sorry about that. We'll be getting him back on the line. But to give us some perspective is Hans Mensando. Hans?
Well, I mean, interesting. You know, Comey loses to Robert Easter Jr. is looking for a rematch. And Easter doesn't give him the rematch. Decides to fight Mikey Garcia. Loses to Mikey Garcia. Garcia is not even thinking about giving Robert Easter Jr. a rematch. He's thinking about moving up to the welterweight to fight Errol Spence. Essentially, it means that the title is getting away from Richard Comey. You know, it is getting away from him. It's that simple. To the extent that even in moving up weight to the welterweight division, it is within the same sanction by the IBF. The IBF will allow him to keep hold of the title, the lightweight title, and still fight for the welterweight title. And that's how come I'm saying that he's getting away from Richard Comey. In Mikey Garcia, you're looking at a fighter who has high ambitions. You know, he's already a four division, champion at this age. He's looking at going to a fifth division to conquer the division. And it tells you that he's not really looking at the boxers in the lightweight division. Eventually, he might relinquish the title, because if he tells the welterweight and realizes that he's comfortable there, he might stay there and not drop down in weight to fight in the lightweight division. That is the only scenario that will open up an opportunity for Richard Comey for the IBF title again.
Okay, so Richard Comey, give us an idea of what he's been doing since he was beaten by Robert Easter Jr.
Okay, so he lost another fight in Russia, but came back to win his last fight, which put him back as the number one contender as far as the IBF ranking is concerned. Now, if you look at the WBC ranking, Mikey Garcia, of course, the WBC champion. He currently also holds the IBF title. And you have Richard Comey ranked number 4 by the WBC. Very good ranking there, but he's still not close enough to challenge for that title against Mikey Garcia. If you come to the WBA, he's not ranked by the WBA at all.
At all.
Lomachenko is a champion there. And so he's not even in the picture for the WBA
Marcel
title.
Lomachenko.
IBF number 1 contender. Brilliant. But Robert Easter was the man holding the title. Now it is Mikey Garcia. If he comes at WBO, he's ranked number 9. Not even close to Raimundo Beltran as far as the title is concerned. So he's got his sights fixed on the IBF title, and like I said, now it is getting away from. If his ranking, if he had a ranking as far as the WBA was concerned, maybe you might be looking at a fight between himself and Vasily Lomachenko, but he's not ranked. If you look at the WBO ranking, he's ranked number 9, way too far away at this moment to be able to get close to the title. So his best bet as it stands now is for Mikey Garcia to decide that, look, I don't want to fight in the lightweight division anymore. I am letting go of the title, and then maybe you have a shout. Even then, if you look at the dynamics as it stands, Robert Easter Jr. might drop to maybe number 2 because there is nobody rated at number 2.
Yeah.
So then the title becomes vacant to be fought again between Richard Comey and most likely Robert Easter Jr.
So, what are the chances, succinctly put, of us getting another world champion after Dogbe soon?
Within this dynamics, it's all in the hands of what Mikey Garcia decides. As far as the IBF,
if he decides to let go of that title,
if he decides to let go of the title, Comey has a shot because he's number 1 ranked,
and he'll have to fight with Easter for it.
Exactly, most likely. But if he decides to hold on to the title and the IBF will allow him because it's within the same sanction body, then of course he has to continue bidding his time.
Okay, Mr. Jacob Zwenes, you are indeed on air. Good afternoon and welcome to the Joy Sports Track.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, sure. So we've discussed the dynamics of what it means for Richard Comey vis-a-vis Mikey Garcia winning this weekend. What are your thoughts on the fact that we think that the title is getting away from the Ghanaian?
No, I don't think so. I think these type of arrangements and this type of events happen all the time in boxing, right? So everyone is chasing the golden fleece. Everyone is going for the big money, and more often than not, a champion will choose to vacate the title and probably move up a weight class in pursuit of greener pastures. I should put it this way. So I see this as a welcome news for Richard, who I think is at the cusp of this world title. He's been looking for probably in the last few years. What I think happened here is if Garcia decides to move on, then obviously the title has to be declared vacant, right? If the title is declared vacant in that space, then of course Richard, who's rated very high, who I believe is very soon going to be fighting for maybe possibly a final eliminator, will get a shot at the title. So I don't think it's a bad thing. Easter Jr. Has had his time. I think he lost convincingly over the weekend, and I think it's time for Richard to step up and own that space.
What if? I mean, I know it's a big what if. Mikey Garcia decides to take his title along.
Well, if he decides to keep the title, there's that much that long that he can wait to defend the title, right? So there are rules that we need to follow.
Sure.
Very soon he will have to do a mandatory defense, and then when the time comes, the IBF will have to make the call on what we want to do in that space. But I can tell you for sure that Richard is primed for this. He's very ready to step up and own that space. And irrespective of what happens, whether Garcia decides to hold onto the title or vacate the title, one way or the other, we see this coming. And I think Richard is going to get the opportunity to fight for a world title.
Real quick, if Garcia keeps hold of that title and he decides indeed to fight Errol Spence, what next?
Well, again, as they say, these things happen, right?
Yeah, sure.
He might have his plans. We have the governing bodies, we have the sanctioning bodies who have their rules, right? So there's not much time that you can hold onto a title, right? Very soon you'll have to defend.
Yeah.
If he decides to go and take on Errol Spence, that's going to be a very I would say exciting matchup.
Yes, it would.
I will at this point I'll actually stick my neck out for Errol Spence. I think Errol Spence is the bigger of the two. I think he's the more dynamic. Mikey Garcia is very good. I've known him for all this years. He has very good precision and very disciplined boxer. but I think he might be stepping a little bit out of his league when he goes to the 147 division, because that's going to be a tad higher for him, and I believe the guys there might be a little bit on the stronger side for him.
Yeah, sure. Finally, just a few seconds. Mikey Garcia versus Richard Comey. If it comes to that, you think Mr. Comey can do it?
Listen, I have no doubt. And let me repeat that. I have no doubt that Richard is going to beat Mikey Garcia, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me.
Different styles make different fights.
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen Garcia after his long layoff come back. He's not who he used to be, but I've seen him take on a few very worthy opponents and champions, and he's won. But I've seen flaws in his game, and from what I saw over the weekend against Robert Easter Jr., I think he will struggle against Richard when Richard comes in with his A game. And I say this because the Robert Easter Jr. we saw over the weekend is not the Robert Easter Jr. who fought Richard.
Yeah.
Right. And I can see the openings in Garcia's game, and I'll rather keep it to ourselves, and then I'm sure Richard will exploit those
weaknesses. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Zuenes. We appreciate your time. And as they say, there's only one Richard Comey, isn't it?
Absolutely, there's only one Richard Comey,
right?
And I can promise you that we're waiting patiently for the opportunity to come for him, which I believe is coming very soon. And no doubt about that, Richard is definitely going to be a world champion.
Jacob Zuenes is the manager of Richard Comey, and he brings us to a very bombastic end to the Joy Sports Track for today. My name is Gary Alsmith. Many thanks, Hans Mensando, for joining us as well. Time for us to segue quickly into the news with Ernest Quick.
Gary, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, so come